from.
No, and we have a motion and a second still on the floor.
Right, related to this.
So I think we need to take a vote on that motion. Kelly, do you want to restate it? You're just stating for both units.
I know Mike nailed it. It's just so hard for us to really vote on each unit because we don't know enough. But without very specific issues that I've seen, or you talk about target shooting, that there's issues. Well, I want to know the issue. Is it really an issue? There's looting. Oh, well, tell me about looting. So it's hard for us to know without it. So my motion was just A, and we'll just go with that.
Okay, and we did have a second, Jamie, I think. So all those in favor of the motion to accept A in both units, say aye. All against? Okay.
Okay.
I think the nays have it. So we really haven't come to any agreement on recreation at this point. And Lisa, we're bumping up against the time schedule.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable making sure that we document the complexity of the issue, and given the time allowed, the group's discomfort with moving forward with a formal recommendation. I think that's fair, absolutely. What I would recommend at this point, I know that there's been some interest and ability in maybe staying a little longer, but I think what we should do is let's make sure we tackle the next potential meeting. And then, well, actually, let's do one. Because I can actually do that as an administrative thing following this later if we need to. How many people want to continue this discussion and want to continue? Or are we pretty good? I mean, I can go through what we've accomplished so far, and I think you've tackled most of the priority items that you wanted to yesterday. We've talked a little bit about group size. We've talked about target shooting. We've talked about trying to think. I've got them listed. The camping to the cattle. We've talked about cultural landscapes, fire management. We've actually even thrown in some additional ones as we switched our process for how we're handling this. So again, I want to reiterate, I think this group should feel very successful. If you walk away from the table right now, please feel like you have accomplished a significant amount. The agencies have been working on this plan for how long? It's been a little while since we initiated scoping, and you've only had a few hours to really thoroughly discuss it as a group. And I can't thank you all enough either for coming prepared. It's very obvious. You've all read the plans, you've paid attention, you've looked. Your engagement has been tremendous. So I guess my first question is, I know that we have a few members that cannot stay. Are there other members that would wish to stay for, say, another hour? We're getting into lunch break, people are getting tired. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that as a group?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Will we be planning another meeting to pick up where we left off?
I think the next meeting is really going to deal more with the implementation phase. We're going to be moving into that. These are the recommendations that we're going to use to this point to take forward as we are working on the proposed management plans.
Let's see how many people need to leave and how many of us would be left. So
We might not have a quorum. That's a good point. How many people would need to leave or would like to leave? Keep it, so it's no guarantee if you have to or.
Yeah, let's clarify, not like I have to.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. That's fine. Let's still maintain a quorum, but I think as an initial group, how do you guys feel? Do you want to keep plowing ahead, or would you like to just?
Maybe, could we, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What if we settle in and say, hey, let's get some of the main topics out in the next, what time, half hour, 1 hour, something like that?
Yeah.
Those would move.
So extend 1 more hour, but those that need to leave can? Okay. I'm gonna suggest that while we have everyone here, we look at target dates for the next meeting or a location even. I mean, if this works, or Blanding, we'd be looking at least 3 months out, and need to tell you that now. You guys have agreed to meet or been asked to meet 2 to 4 times a year. So it doesn't mean you have to do all 4 now, and another meeting's good and appropriate. A good point in time to do that would probably, the next possible one would, we're looking at October, November timeframe at the soonest probably.
So when you say we're gonna meet and do the implementation, what if this group disagrees on what you're implementing? Is it too late?
Not on what we're implementing, but with respect to what's in the proposed plan, the umbrella, the sideboards, those will be set at that point, more than likely. You know, I can't anticipate the planning process and how that's going to go and what else may come up. But the agency's intent is to issue a proposed plan probably before this group can meet again later this year. Timing might work out, but I anticipate,
So I don't know if we can decide a date, but I'd recommend like September, October.
okay? If you guys get me to a month, I can work with that offline and afterwards.
So, Lisa, I'm wondering if that's more administrative. And if we go
Yep.
to the last slide that I talked about yesterday, Becky, that shows the next steps.
Yeah.
So, you know, the plan moving from here, the agency needs to finalize the plan, come with a proposed plan. It'll be issued hopefully in the next few weeks. And then we'll have the governor's consistency review, protest time periods. We're probably looking at late fall. And I think what we could do is we could look at our schedule based on when this comes out, which none of us knows that here today.
Right.
And we've got to do some work, we've got to take the recommendations, we've got to take some feedback into it, talk to the agencies, and then decide what we can utilize and what we can't, and how we're going to incorporate it best back through our administration and communicating back to the administration. And then what we can do, then we can send out a quick email to the committee and ask for some proposed dates in that month that best meets our next needs.
And you'll have a record of decision signed after this that
Right.
basically accepts whatever that proposed plan is as modified either by our response to protest or our response to the governor's consistency review. And then the implementation part is focusing in on what parts of the ROD what needs to be implemented first. What are the most critical issues? I think Elise talked about the cultural resources and the management plans for that. There may be things that you all want to see done as that can help shape the agenda for that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're able to meet, you know, during that consistency review period or after, or whether you meet before the ROD is signed or after. Those are things we may have options on. But I know, I was encouraged to stay on schedule as much as possible, and that puts our decision sometime in late September or October, early October.
To address Kelly's comment about, so Kelly, it'll be less a question of if we're going to do something. It will then be, the implementation will be how we're going to do it. So really this group will still have a great deal of opportunity to influence how and define some of those things that you were concerned about. Well, does this make sense to have this many people there and stuff? So this sets the stage for the implementation level.